Hey man, say man, it's Brother Charles.
And my name is Jasmine. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Hopefull Romantics.
Alright, so today we're going to talk about who we are, why we decided to do this in the first place, and then towards the end we're going to answer some of the questions that y'all decided to send us in. It's called Answers and Asks with Brother Charles and Jazz. Alright, but first, as always, we got to start off the episode the right way. So, Father God, in the name of Jesus, this show was just an idea. Ideation turned into creation, and we know you are the divine creator. You placed in us a vision of how, through our relationship, we will impact the hearts of your people. We pray for peaceful, joyful, and hopeful bonds that will create a fullness in our listeners, second only to the love that we experience in you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so, who are we? Who is us?
Who are we? We are a regular young adult couple just trying to figure out how to maneuver this relationship and adulthood
At the same time. Which is kind of difficult sometimes. We are two dope individuals, in my opinion, that God placed together for a purpose. To serve each other, to speak to each other's spirits, but also to go out and make sure that, like, there's other people's relationships got a little tune up as well. Because I think that our levels of communication are dope. I think our compatibility was something that both of us were seeking, whether it was subconsciously or consciously. And at the same time, I think that, like, we just enjoy each other. It's not always the case where you get together with somebody and y'all end up being best friends. Sometimes, like, people be like, I was best friends first. I was like, he was faking on me, but then eventually we got together and, like, it worked. But I think for us, because we didn't, like you said, in high school, we wasn't really that close. But we got together and, like, things have really turned up, in a good way. Not to say that we haven't had, like, our issues, our bouts and stuff like that, but we've been able to maneuver them in a way that shows our strengths, that shows our level of communication. And I think that other people can benefit from us speaking about our experience.
Which is basically why we started the podcast. If you follow me personally, I frequently talk about how me and Charles, or us as a unit, we were put together. We were placed together. We were divinely made for one another to be able to not only learn and grow from each other, but to take what we're learning, to take the situations that we have gone through and learned from, in order to help others, in order to be somewhat of an example, but ultimately, true.
We ain't nobody relationship goals, nothing like that. Please don't.
But ultimately to help those around us and help as many people as possible in terms of maneuvering love, relationships, spirituality, adulthood, or young adulthood. And everything that comes with loving another person.
And that's a lot. And it can be a lot. And especially in this generation, it can seem pretty daunting. Because honestly and truly, so many folk are out here struggling just to really feel comfortable enough to put themselves out there for a relationship. And then once they get into the relationship, insecurities that they may have, the insecurities of the person that they're dealing with, and then just like so many insecurities and pain that they might have not dealt with yet, all of that comes out to the forefront. And it's hard to maneuver, especially when you have to consider your feelings, your emotional wellness. And now you have you don't have the responsibility, but you have to engage with someone else's emotions and someone else's insecurities as well. So it can be a lot. We're here to help, but we're also here to help you heal. Like, that's the biggest thing.
And I think what's interesting is some people could look at our relationship and think we have it all together, and we like this love just fell in our laps, and it has just been perfect ever since. But in reality, when me and Charles think back to who we were before we became a couple, like we had done a lot of work. You know, we both were coming out of interesting relationships. We were both coming out of
just stop right there. We was coming out.
We were coming out of a season of some interesting relationships with other people, but interesting relationships with ourselves.
Yeah,
I think
that's the more important part, because
no, like it, and that's why when we in our prayer we were very intentional about saying to first identify and to help people heal, then for that to transition into how they then build and maintain relationships. I think sometimes you try to do it all together or mix up the order. And that's when people are finding themselves in relationships that are failing, or starting relationships but never really being able to maintain them, or dealing with jealousy, or dealing with cheating, or all of these detrimental situations because we haven't taken the time beforehand to do the work on ourselves.
Yes. And the thing about it is, like, people always say that you can't work on yourself while you're in a relationship. That's not necessarily true. But it is vital that you at least are coming to the table with a version of yourself that is prepared to do more work. A lot of people find themselves in relationships like where they feel either docile or stagnant because they think, all right, I'm in this relationship. This person is like feeling me. So I guess like I must be pretty cool in my growth. Nah, like you should be constantly in the position where you're looking into yourself, you're introspective, and you're looking at aspects of yourself that you can improve upon. Because as you do that, as you grow, you find yourself more secure in yourself. So if you're more secure in yourself, you're going to be more secure in your relationship. If you out here like still reeling from relationships of the past, somebody might have cheated on you, stepped out on you, someone might have abused you, someone might have said things about you that you internalized. And then you was like, all right, that's in the past, but the pain is still present with you. And then you bring it into your present relationship. It's inevitable that it's going to be like, expressed in a certain way, whether it's subconsciously or consciously. So I think both me and Jasmine were very intentional about recognizing the pain that we had from other relationships and healing from that, or still healing from that. Yes, starting the process, because it's not going to be instantaneous, and you're not going to get rid of all of it. Like
that's one thing.
That's one thing. Yeah, it exposes itself kind of in stages. Like I think the big hurts are easy to point out, right? And those are the things that you can start to unravel. But then like the remnants of the little jumps will be like, all right, like, and then they pop out low key at the most random times when you think everything is cool.
Everything is cool. Yeah.
But that's something that we've learned for ourselves.
So as you can see, we think a lot about love. We in relationships, we are very reflective people in our individual lives. So when we came together, it was just this heightened level of intentional conversation about how he's feeling, how I'm feeling, how we're feeling, and where we're going. So all of that put together, our experiences, things that are placed around our hearts to say, the questions that you present to us will be what we discuss in each episode. We'll have We'll have a
banner, a question,
a topic. We'll have a topic every episode. And between episodes, what we want to do is we want to have live segments on Instagram and Facebook.
Maybe that's for the aunties.
So we'll have live segments of questions. You all sent in a lot of questions prior to this episode.
Y'all going through it.
And we definitely can't answer them all every episode, but we'll have a topic. We'll answer the questions around that topic. And then during our live, we will answer some more of the questions that you sent us and the questions you have in the moment.
So make sure you follow all the socials, Facebook, Instagram.
Instagram is definitely the biggest one right now. It's just the easiest to maneuver. Facebook definitely for
the aunties.
Yeah.
The aunties, the old heads.
But yes, so follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, also follow us on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right?
Us all the Hopefull Romantics at the Hopefull Romantics. You'll find us.
Yes. So the last segment of our episode today is going to be
answers and asks with Brother Charles and James. You like I said.
Oh my goodness. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 questions to come in just in the last 7 days. Some of them are much more complex than we're going to go into on the first episode, but we have questions ranging from how do you deal with we have questions ranging from how involved. Actually, I think this is one we should answer today because this is foundational.
How the first question is, how involved should both partners be in church/prayer? I mean, my thing about this is this. If the person that you should. I feel like in the first month or so, because that's 4 Sundays, you're going to know how involved somebody is in church. And like, I feel like someone's prayer life can be very personal, but I feel like when you're a prayerful person, you talk about what you're praying about. So I think that, and it depends on who you are as an individual. Like right now, we could be talking to somebody who don't really rock with Jesus like that. You know what I'm saying? I hope that the Lord blesses you in many ways than one. But at the end of the day, like that is a level of communication and conversation that needs to be had, especially if church and prayer is very important to you. If your relationship with God is at the forefront of your life, you're probably seeking out people who are like-minded in that sense. So I think it's going to be pretty obvious whether or not someone is really taking that seriously or not.
I was going to say something very similar. It's whoever sent in this question, to me, is a person that, to some degree, church and prayer are important to them. And if you as an individual have come to the conclusion that religiously, spiritually, whichever direction you lean on is important to you, that's a conversation to me it's an early conversation, because what you don't want to happen is you're a avid churchgoer, your spirituality is something that is a daily practice. It's something extremely important to you. And it's something that, moving forward is going to be a large part of your life and a large part of how you build the life you want to live. So if you're starting a new relationship and you put that on the back burner and you're opening up and you're sharing this and that, and now they've become invested in your life and you become invested in theirs. And then one day you're like, hey, you want to go to church with me? And they're like,
church?
Nah. They're like, church really isn't for me.
And then what? You know what I'm saying? I've been in that situation too, is where that aspect of your life becomes something that's like taboo. When in reality, that's so uncomfortable because I don't know about anybody else, but the Lord shapes who I am. So if you're in love with who I am, you say that you're in love with who I am, but you can't like really accept that aspect of who I am. It makes it difficult for me to maneuver the relationship. If I'm, if I stayed up till 2:00 in the morning talking to God about something that's going to be very formative to who I am going forward, and I can't be comfortable enough to share that with you, that's going to create a boundary that doesn't necessarily need to be there.
I was also in a previous relationship where our emphasis on spirituality was off. And it just created an unnecessary stress on our relationship because I did what you said. I would be going through something, or we would be going through something, and my natural instinct is to pray. My natural instinct is to seek a higher level, of understanding, and if the other person, if my partner isn't seeking the same thing and they're seeking advice from, whatever, like that is going to constantly be an issue because we're not seeking advice from the same source.
Sure.
So I think it depends on you. If church and prayer and spirituality is important to you, I think it's imperative to have a conversation, an honest conversation with whoever you are seeking to build with, and understand where they are, where you are, and if you can build together.
Next question.
You pick the next one.
Is it true that love finds you when you least expect it, or is that crazy talk?
No, lazy talk.
What does that even mean?
Lazy talk is so basically it's if does love find you when you least expect it, or is that for people who aren't trying to go out and look for it? Is it lazy? Okay. You know?
Lazy talk.
I will say every relationship that came out of me being a place where I looked for a relationship was the worst relationships I were in. Period. Period, point blank, period.
It was trash.
Because I was at a place where I was looking for someone to fill certain places that they could not feel. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you're trying to fill a void.
Exactly. Whether it was I'm dealing with all this emotionally, so I just want someone who is gonna make me feel good. Who's gonna hang out with me and basically help me to
just distract myself.
From what is really going on.
Relationships be clutch when you're really looking for them.
Because you will find a relationship if you are looking for one. You'll find someone. It may not be the right person. It may not be someone who speaks to your spirit. It may not be someone who leaves you peaceful and joyful. But you'll find someone if you are looking.
As long as you bathe, brush your teeth, and you look somewhat presentable, there's gonna be somebody out there who's rocking with you.
That's just how it is. Everyone out here is looking for companionship on some level. So you will find it. And I did. And it was a mess. But the times that I was chilling on my own, working on myself, really focused on where Jasmine was going, what Jasmine was feeling, how Jasmine wants the next person to treat her, was when I was in more successful relationships. When me and Charles started dating, I was not trying to date anyone. I got out of a relationship, and you can ask any of my friends. I was going around telling people I was going to be 35 before I got married, 40 before I had a kid. I was over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And unexpectedly, Charles DMs me.
Answer your DMs, ladies.
No.
Don't block your blessing.
No.
Okay.
The only reason I opened your DM is because we
were best friends
kind of knew each other in high school.
We were best friends in high school.
I digress. So I opened the DM, we're chatting, whatever. And that led to the most successful, healthy relationship I've ever been in. And it was not one I sought. It was one that really just fell in my lap at the perfect time, at the divine time that it was meant to. So I wouldn't say it's lazy talk, but I would say focus on what you're doing. Focus on your purpose, your God-given purpose in the path that God has you on. And your person will always show up when your paths cross.
And there's somebody watching this right now, I'm tired of waiting.
Ooh, yes.
They seeing everybody on Instagram cuddling
getting
up, all
engaged.
stuff. Yeah, people love getting engaged during the holiday season. I know you're scrolling if I see one more ring, it's over with. But my thing is you really do have to be patient. Because my thing is the worst thing you could do is be you know what? I'm gonna just get in a relationship. And then you look up, you 2 years in the game, your hair falling out, you stressed, you might be pregnant, or you might have a kid on the way. And no, I'm saying all of a sudden you're locked into somebody who was never supposed to be forever. I feel there's a lot of people right now who are very unhappy because they find themselves with a person who was supposed to be left about 3-4 seasons ago. And you're trying to step into, God was trying to take you to another place, but you're stuck with the person who was supposed to be left in your past, but they're currently your present. And there's not a lot that you can do about that. So you feel somewhat trapped. And I would much rather, if I was single right now, I would much rather be in a place where I'm waiting, right, than be in a relationship and be regretting. And I think the best thing about this relationship was it came at a time when I was you already trying to knock over the table. It came at a time where like I wasn't seeking anything.
Mm-hmm.
It came at a time where I was being very intentional about my own growth. And then the Lord was like, okay, Charles, I see you preparing yourself for the next season. So guess what? Here goes the lady that's going to bring you into every season that I have for you going forward. That's going to sharpen you for every season going forward. She's not, that's it. Gotcha, bro. And I feel like because God did that, I was thoroughly ready, right? And it was kind of daunting because I'm like, whoa, like, everything seems to be going smoothly.
Yeah.
And that was I think the biggest hesitation for us when we first got together was like things are feeling way too good. And I feel like a lot of times that's when you really know. It's when like there's nothing going on around you that could say like this isn't what's for me. Because let's be honest, y'all. You know a red flag when you see one. But if you're lonely enough, if you're bored enough, if you're horny enough, you going to literally be like, I'm gonna be colorblind for a few weeks. And then that turns into a few months, a few years, and now you're sad. So
I think this is a tangent, but something you said made me think of this. One thing I love to say is people often talk about how do you know that person's the one? Like, how do you know this person's the one? Honestly and truly, just when your person has come the same way when that is not your person. You know what I mean? Like it's like you have to be very honest with yourself.
Yeah, keep it staying.
In every relationship prior to Charles, there was a moment, there was a time, there was a season, there was something in it that gave me pause to know without a shadow of a doubt that person had an expiration date in my life.
You don't gotta know when.
You don't have to know when. Most of the time you don't like it. It comes at the wrong time.
You push it down.
You push it away. You say, nah, that's just doubt. Like, nah,
no,
that's just
forever.
That's just a hiccup. Like, no, you need to listen to you need to look and make sure that you are being aware of the signs, and you're listening to yourself. You are listening to how that person makes you feel in the best of times and at the worst of times.
Yeah, the worst of times is more important.
I would even say the best of times though. Like it's both. It's how does this person make you feel all of the time?
All the time.
Because your person is going to be around all of the time. So it's not like you're building with this person to live a life where you're over here and I'm over here and I'll only be around you during the good times. Like, no, like, and those are the moments that I can't do this for the rest of my life.
Crazy though is like the phrase like a gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, I don't know if anybody can relate, but I have physical sensations connected to my emotions. Like when I'm really not supposed to be somewhere, there's something in my body that like is physically uncomfortable. And until I'm outside of that space, it will not go away. I've had people in my life where it's like, I should probably get from around you. But because I've connected myself to them, like it's nothing I can really do, right? Until I snatch myself away, and then that feeling is gone. And in the same vein, when we got together, it was a sensation, but it was like the first time I had like a good gut feeling about something. Whereas like if I don't go towards this, if I don't pursue this, I'll be feeling like I'm losing out on something. I'm losing something.
So those okay. So those are our two questions for the day. How involved should your partner be in church and prayer? And is it true that love finds you when you least expect it? So that is going to be the conclusion of our first episode of the Hopeless Romantics podcast. Is there anything else you want to add?
Subscribe. Remain hopeful. Please don't see us as your relationship goes, even though we are pretty dope. But you want to have cool experiences, positive experiences, healing experiences, in your own vein, in your own way, that's going to push you into the potential and the reality that God wants you to walk in. So use some of the tips that we said, but always remember to stay true to who you are in your relationship and individually. All right, we good?
Sounds good.
All right, we're going to see y'all next time.